Feels like stand-up comedy night, I have to say. Can you hear me in the back? No! Yes, you can. Right, first of all, I'd like to obviously thank everyone for coming. There's people come from a long way. There's people from the far west who come from America. Does that give us all a wave? Come from America? And as far north as Scotland and Durham, can you give all us a wave? And there's far west. I've worked out Sweden's about the furthest east. Sorry. Anybody come further east than Sweden? No, just Sweden. And of course, further south than well, here really, which is it's been a fantastic occasion and stories. It feels a little bit like one of Laura's favourite films, Lord of the Rings. We seem to be all kind of gathered together from various corners of the earth to, well, do something with rings. Hopefully not drop down a volcano or something like that. Okay, that's great. A huge thanks to Christina and Lee for all their fantastic hospitality, Peppy and I, and for Laura. The love and care they've shown for Laura since she's been in Spain has been absolutely fantastic, and the love and care that they obviously show for Pablo and for Laura, which shows what such a perfect match they are. So, as a father a long way away in England, when your daughter's in southern Spain, and you really want someone looking out for her, and I can't think of two better people who have been. That's been brilliant. Thank you. I'm not going to go on for ages and ages. I know I'm a teacher and I'm used to waffling on, but I'm not. But I must start off with just Laura from the very beginnings. Laura was an incredibly easy child to bring up. In fact, her two younger children owe their very existence to the fact she was so easy to bring up. She was absolutely a joy. As indeed my little two are as well. They're absolutely brilliant. She always has been and always was, which is the same thing, a loving, kind, thoughtful girl who was always interested in the world. And it was Laura, when she got to 4 or 5, in a way, didn't convince me to be a primary teacher. She just was so full of questions and joy for life. I had to change from being a secondary teacher to a primary teacher, so I could still work with younger children. So she changed my career just by being Laura. That was great. In return for that, I gave her a love of classic rock music because when you strap your child into a car seat in the back of a car, they have to listen to whatever they're going to put on. And which is why this evening we've got a mixture of Scottish music, and Irish music, and classic rock music. So we're going to have a lovely evening. Well, we all, you know what I mean. Right. I didn't think I would. It was inadvisable to mention individual people, but I really feel I need to mention just a couple of really incredible people who supported me with Laura when she was particularly very young. Is Judith. Like, give us a wave, Judith. I know you're a bit embarrassed or whatever. Judith is Laura's childminder. There's a time in my life when I really need someone to look out for Laura while I had to work, because obviously you have to. I found Judith, and yeah, we're absolutely brilliant. And we used to take her to the Metro Centre because she thought school might be a little bit boring for her, and she had a really great time. So, and Judith is here today, which is brilliant. Laura wasn't always absolutely fantastic and angelic. Last summer I went through all the VHS tapes for the first 5 years in a weekend and converted them all onto DVD. So I spent a whole weekend kind of living with Laura as just a very small child again, and realised how stroppy she could be, but what a wonderful northeastern accent she did have, but unfortunately she lost it when she moved south. In fact, John reminded me the other day that one of his fondest memories is me saying to Laura and saying, yeah, I'm the adult, you're a 4-year-old girl, you're in no position to negotiate. Laura as she grew up, moved from being the oldest of one to the youngest of three, and then in the middle of four, and then in the middle of five. So she had older brothers and sisters to look up to, and younger brothers and sisters to look after. And she did that brilliantly well with the support of all the adults and siblings that she grew up with. It was through that she developed her confidence to reach out for the world. Right? Laura has had massive support, and myself, massive support of her grandparents, aunties, uncles and cousins. Laura used to make regular trips, as we both did, up to Scotland to see her aunts and uncles and her granny in Scotland, and we used to drive up together in a battered old car over the Cheviots in midwinter. And while she was again listening to classic rock music strapped in the back of a car. And then as she grew older, she travelled by train, accompanied, and then she was picked up by her granny in York, and then went the rest of the way. And now she, up to a few years ago, was flying to Edinburgh with Pablo to see her granny, which is great. Okay, and well, we're talking about Laura's granny, Louise. Laura's granny Louise, always, every conversation I had with Louise always started with, do you like Pablo? You like Pablo, don't you? Pablo's really good for Laura. Yeah, Laura's, he's alright, isn't he, Pablo? What do you think of Pablo? Every time. Whether he was in person, whether he was on the phone, it was always, and I always used to say, Louise, he's great, he's brilliant. Yeah? He's really good for her, and she was always really pleased, and it gives us all great pleasure to know that Granny knew that Laura was going to be well and truly looked after. That was great. Okay. I'd also like to pay tribute to my mum and dad, who sat over here, my dad with his technology. Okay. For giving me the parenting skills and the love and the interest in life that I have passed on to Laura, because really as a parent you kind of really only learn from your own parents, and I've had two of the best parents anybody could wish for. It was always my aim as Laura's dad. I mean, I know as a teacher we have aims and objectives and success criteria. It's not quite as clinical as that. But Laura's dad, to ensure that she had lots of lovely people around her as she grew up, an interest in life and a care for life, an ambition to see as much of the world as she could, and also to do well at school. Okay? But most importantly, I wanted to have a network of friends and relatives that cared about her. And I'm sure these were the same objectives for Christina and me, for Pablo too, because I see the same qualities in him as I do in Laura. And when I look around this room, I see we've achieved our objectives, because it's just absolutely fantastic to see you all here and feel how much love and affection there is for Laura and Pablo here. Brilliant. I think she'll be so. Someone asked me the other day, what percentage did I approve of Pablo? Because we live in this measurement and because we live in these worlds where everything's measured, isn't it? So I sort of said 95%. And they said, right, but because I said no father of any daughter would ever say 100% for his daughter. But however, it's all right, don't get worried. However, when you convert pounds to euros, that 95%, 95% goes to 120%. Also, people say to me about letting go, right? And I kind of think you actually kind of let go of your children almost after they're born in a way. I remember one day walking along with pushing Laura in a buggy, and she was only about a year old, and this little boy came past who obviously knew her from playgroup or somewhere, and he said, "Hello, Laura," and of course Laura said nothing because she was only a year old. And I kind of said to Laura, "Who's that?" I know she couldn't answer me either because she couldn't speak. And I realised then that your children from very young develop their own world, their own lives, even from a very early beginning. So I've accepted I always accepted she has her own life, her own friends, her own choices. And when I look around this room, I realise what wonderful choices she has made. Okay? And finally, there's one person to mention without whom any of this would have ever existed would be Laura's mum. Okay? Laura's mum wrote a lot of poetry in her life, and she wrote one particular poem when Laura was born. And one of the verses was, Laura will keep opening our eyes to the wonder of the world and be a constant reminder of the beauty of the world. And as Pepe and I have watched Laura and Pablo and Masu, I don't mean just sat there watching them, because that would be a bit cool, right? Live their lives in Orihuela and climb up the hill and look at the stunning landscape and smile and talk to people and visit Lee and Christina and see them both gathered together with friends and relatives by the sea. It has been truly beautiful. Okay? So I'd love you to continue to enjoy the evening and the classic rock from the band. Okay? And I'd love to hand you over to Sam, as Pablo's top girl, best lady. Okay?